honored to be here and try to contribute to the reform process of Lebanon. At the same time, scared to replace Judge غالوبي, that is a very important judge in Italy with a great experience and a great knowledge on this topic. Of course, Italy, the principle of independence of judiciary in Italy is based on the Constitution. The Constitution reflects, as it was approved in the 48, all the principles that we then find in the international standard as the basic principle on independence of judiciary of the 1985 or the Bangalore principle of judicial conduct on 2002. In specific, I think it's very important what the Bangalore principle says in the first part, where they highlight as the independence of the judiciary is a prerequisite of the rule of law. And this is a very important sentence because it explains the pivotal role that the judiciary play in a society. In Italy, it was probably easy to reach and to have a constitution that has included this principle because it came in the 1948 after the Second World War, after a civil war, and after the regime, the fascist regime. And during the regime, it was clear that the price that was paid by the justice and by the judiciary, several judges were removed because they didn't accept to follow the instruction of the Ministry of Justice at that time. Therefore, the constitutional father in the 48 were able to draft a constitution that included all these principles: the autonomy, the independent, the self-governing body, the judge that is subject only to the law, and all these principles. And also, it's very important the role that was given to the High Judicial Council. The High Judicial Council in Italy is a bit peculiar if we make a comparison with other systems because it's composed by 16 judges nominated, elected by the colleagues, 8 judges nominated by the parliament, and 2 judges, the president of the Cassation Court and the prosecutor general, and by the president of the republic. This system, maybe we can speak about it later on, has received some criticism, especially at the international level, because in all the meetings I had with delegation coming from abroad, especially from the Mediterranean area, this combination of lay judges and professional judges is considered or can be viewed as a risk for the independence itself. In Italy, we consider this as an added value because the independence of the judiciary is not only a value for the judges, it's a value for the society. The judges look at the independence as an instrument to perform their work in a correct and fair manner. The society looks at the independence as a guarantee for having a fair justice. Therefore, the two factors are combined. Therefore, the reason why I also like the project where we are involved, that is specifying the social priority of the independence, I think is an interesting approach because it's trying to look for the first time as the civil society as a tool that can support the judiciary to achieve what is his main scope, his own independence. In Italy also, as I mentioned in the Constitution, it was approved in 48, the High Judicial Council entered into force in the 58. It means that it took 10 years to establish it. It means that there was, at that time, a strong debate, and this debate is still alive at this moment. We speak about 3 powers: judiciary, executive, and legislative. Powers itself means that each of them tries to overcome the others. It's in the nature of the power try to extend its influence. And therefore, in the debate in Italy that is still lively is only based on the principle that the judiciary sometimes is overcoming its role, playing a political role, and the judiciary sometimes criticizes the executive and the legislative because they consider that some laws are done in a punitive manner. And sometimes the legislative blame the executive because they say that they abuse of the decree in order to pass laws. Therefore, in this debate, I think the role of the civil society is very important. But I want now to focus on another aspect. Judge Lund has analyzed as the role of the civil society as a watchdog. According to my experience in Italy and the experience of Italy in general, I look at the civil society not like a watchdog, but as a supporter. We had, maybe you already know, we had passed very bad period during the terrorism, 1970, 1980, and with the fight against mafia. Several judges have paid with their life, therefore to stand alone, or better, to stand against this risk. Most of them were aware of the risk they were facing, and they accept this because they were accepting to do it in the interest of the society. But they were not standing alone. I mean, they were not alone in the reform. And in a certain sense, there is a kind of exchange of energy between, there was a exchange of energy between the civil society and the judiciary. Taking the example of mafia, that is maybe the most interesting from this point of view. The mafia is a state, was a state in a state. It couldn't be possible to reach this level without the support, direct or indirect, of the state and its representative. It means law enforcement, parliamentary, politician, and judiciary. There are examples in the far past of Italy, beginning of the 20th century, of the judges that maybe underestimate the risk or maybe turn their eyes from another direction to not have a problem. But during the 60s, the consciousness of the problem raised, and the judges started to make investigation, to request new laws. The legislature starts supporting them with the laws. The civil society starts demonstrating for having the mafia fight in a proper manner. And more the judges opposing to the mafia, more the civil society was standing with them. More they take the risk with their life and they pay with their life, more the civil society has supported the judges and the prosecutor. This is the same happened, for instance, taking another completely different example with, for instance, the famous Clean Hands investigation in 1992 against corruption. This is an interesting example because Italy is also known as a very corrupted country. It's not the place to discuss about it, but there are several problems. But the judiciary never was considered part of the corruption. His prestige was always very evident to everybody. And this prestige was recognized by the society and by the citizens. And for instance, there were several cases in 1992 where the famous judges involved in these corruption cases were stopped in the street by people that was asking for them to do more work than they were doing, to continue, to let them understand that the civil society was with them. They were not alone. It's difficult to say who has started first, if it's the judges find in the civil society the support to start being more proactive or vice versa. But these two energies are combined together. And therefore, the reason why I like the title of the project, and I really think this project can play a role, is because maybe for the first time in the EU projects, because I met several, and usually the assistant to the judiciary is given by twinning project, it means by other judiciary. This is the other judicial system. In this case, the first time where we try to combine the support of experts as ICJ coming from the judiciary with the civil society. I come from an institute in Italy based in Sicily, therefore the knowledge about mafia comes from this side. But at the same time, we organize several activities, and for instance, we have followed the entire process of the reform of the criminal procedure code. And we did it organizing a group of experts with judges, prosecutors, police officers, a bar association, academy. So as civil society we were, and we are, a laboratory for having these people work together. And I think that's this aspect of the role that the civil society can play is very important. I mean, a reform doesn't come from the room. A change of the system doesn't come from abroad. The change is always generated by the energy of the country. But the energy has to be taken everywhere. You cannot make a new criminal procedure code, for instance, as we did in 1999, if you don't consider it. If you don't consider the need of the society, if you don't consider the study made by the academy, if you don't consider the experience of the judges at that level, first instance, appeal, and cassation court, but also young judges, because in most cases the young judges are the most interested in the change because they are coming from the society. You know, in the judiciary there is always a problem. I'm not a judge, I can say this. when you are part of the power, after 30 years, maybe the contact with the society, with the real need can be not so strong as it was when you were 25 and you just entered in the judiciary. Therefore, I think when you speak about reform, all the component of the society has to participate, but also all the component of the judiciary has to participate, because each of us has something to say and something to add. Sorry if I was not very detailed in Italian legislation, but I think that in this situation maybe it's more important to speak about what we can play in this context. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you for